Palomino Labs. Ryan and I met. I'm working for StackMob now, and Ryan and his team were working on doing a Sencha integration for StackMob and have actually open sourced that, which is really cool. And but tonight he's talking about something completely different. It's going to be about Selenium testing for mobile. Am I?
Yes.
I got
so
it right?
it's different but it's related. So how many people have familiarity with testing with Selenium? Have anyone tried to do touch app testing with Selenium? Okay, so that's what I'm here to talk about. It's directly related to Sencha Touch development because Sencha Touch is a touch-based application, so standard click metaphors will not work. It gets emulated in normal web browsers, but if you're trying to test on, let's say, an Android device, click will not do anything. So I say sort of testing because support has been ongoing for about 1.5 years or 2 years, and it's still not quite there. So standard sort of events that you have or actions in desktop apps, click, double click, mouse move, as sort of corollaries in the touch world of single tap, double tap, and flick. So you would think, okay, well, I can just do just driver.flick just like I would do driver.mousemove. Well, it's not exactly how it works. So in the desktop world, Selenium has great support for the sort of 5 major browsers. I say 5 even though I don't really consider Opera a major browser myself. But for testing a touch app, there's no support for any of these because they don't have native support for touch actions. You can't use tap in Chrome. There's an ability to go into the web inspector, the developer tools, and turn on emulation of tap events. The problem is that the Chrome driver doesn't support those. So even if you enable it in your browser, you can't actually send those commands via Selenium. So the only browser that is supported is the browser on Android devices and in the Android emulator. I should have said emulator instead of simulator. But you say, okay, well, great, Android support, but that's not the whole world of touch. So what about iOS? I want to be able to test the application works on iOS, not just Android. Well, that's where you sort of run into a problem. On the right-hand side, you have all of the code that's written to support Android, and on the left-hand side, you have all of the code that's written to support iOS. And that's not because it's easier to write for iOS and it's more elegant, it's because it's not being done. And the reason it's not being done is because it hasn't been supported. The person who was in charge of the project left last year, and no one has filled his role on the Selenium project, sort of the nature of open source. So you can do touch development or testing with Selenium on Android, not so much on Android or on iOS. You can take screenshots on iOS, but you can't actually do any interactions. So there's not really anything useful there. And it's sort of just the support for different devices isn't enough. There's also sort of the, as I was saying, the corollaries or actions. And you can sort of compare click and single tap. So if I was writing in Java and I wanted to support a click event on a desktop browser, I would write driver.clickID. You would think, okay, well maybe I can do driver.singletap.id on a touch device. Well, actually it's this. This is the command that is the corollary to doing driver.click on a desktop machine. It's sort of not something you want to keep having to type. So there is support for writing tests on Android, and I have an app on here that I could demo, but it's really boring. I can just show you the code if anyone's interested. But you can actually do some pretty cool tests on Android, and hopefully someone will volunteer to take up the slack on iOS. If you're not familiar with the way that Selenium 2 with WebDriver works versus Selenium RC, instead of emulating things via JavaScript commands, there's actually native browser support for automation events that WebDriver hooks into. So there is support in mobile Safari, it's just a matter of getting it to work with the native support. So if anyone has any questions about Selenium testing or mobile development testing, especially automated, let me know, but I won't bore you too much.